Welcome to part 2 of episode 31 of the Psychotherapist Podcast. In this segment of the episode, we talk about the impending global mass starvation that will probably wipe out 99% of you listening. We also discuss the concept of the everything shortage, which was brought on by certain economic responses to the COVID pandemic. And we wrap up with a nice little discussion about investing in fine art. This is not a financial advice podcast. Legal disclaimer, don't do a thing I say because I am not doing great. I am not doing great in the stocks, and if it was not for my therapist, oh man, the news would look real pretty right now. But not in a racist way, I meant just for me. Anyway, thank you for listening. God bless. This is the Psychotherapist Podcast. And we're back on. So, the only other real thing I had on my agenda, and it's really something that wasn't inspired until this morning, and it could just, I hope it's total paranoid delusion, but unfortunately, there's evidence to point to, and what I'm referring to is I think, and I almost wish I could put together an essay, a sourced essay, so I could really articulate this in a poignant, direct way. But basically the gist of it is, I don't know if it's the World Economic Forum or Klaus Schwab or this Fourth Industrial Revolution or the Great Reset types. I feel like there's just some kind of fucking plan to trigger mass starvation across the globe. And there's been plenty of indicators that we're going to have a food crisis, not, things that aren't necessarily intentional, or you could argue are more subjective, but I was watching a clip of Tucker Carlson this morning, and he was talking about something to do where the Biden administration wants to push a shit ton of ethanol, and ethanol is actually corn, so you're basically intentionally liquidating more food supply at a time of a food.
Exactly.
So stuff like that is really fucking starting to creep me out. And there was another fucking good point. Now it's on the tip of my tongue, but it escapes me. There was another clip of another guy. Oh, what did he fucking say? I can't remember. But do you think I'm crazy for thinking that there's some kind of Davos group, elitist conspiracy? Oh, now I remember. All these fucked up economic, policies or whatever, over the last few years. And that's another point I'll get back to. But the point I want to make now before I forget was that there's this guy talking about how the sort of carbon taxes or the the push, to get countries off of gasoline and everything, in the interest of reducing greenhouse carbon gas emissions and all that nasty stuff, is going to have an unintended consequence, or maybe intended consequence, of forcing all these third world countries basically just to switch to coal, which apparently is way worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think with the climate change thing, accelerating that, I think it's less about sinking the cities or trying to kill people with hurricanes so much as kind of just disrupting supply lines and destroying farmland and stuff like that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
You know what I mean? And it's just, I remember, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago where I was talking about the Holodomor on this podcast. And, personally, I'm sure I'll fucking survive. I'm in a better position than for a sort of, food crisis than a lot of people. But
do you think that deeply into it, where it becomes a personal issue, where you're worried about your own sense of
that's more that's more superfluous and on the edge because, and I'll send you the clip because it was another one of those random things that just popped up on my YouTube homepage. I had never seen or heard from this guy before, but it was a really interesting clip. And he had this term I really liked called the everything shortage. And the way he broke it down was like, just when you look at the worldwide COVID response policies, when you tell everyone not to work, but so they're not making anything, nothing's being made, while at the same time trying to, hand out all this artificial stimulus and print all this money and give it to people and try to tell them to buy, spend it, whatever, on at a time when nothing's being made. Well, what do you logically call that? An everything shortage.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just really, it sounds so tinfoil hatty, but it's like, god damn, bro, I feel like in 10 or 15 years we're gonna see like the next phase of this like grand culling that they're fucking setting up, bro. It's just some jarring fucking shit. So I can't do anything about that, and I'm just gonna still live my life or whatever. But that's what I wanted to get off my chest this
Okay.
for this segment.
Well, let's look at it clinically. How is it affecting you? It's on your mind, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of things on my mind nowadays, and I consider that a good thing because they rotate a lot. So
Yep.
I don't get too upset about any one thing because there's just too much other shit.
Does it become a distraction, though?
I wouldn't say not really because I don't, these clips and like videos and podcasts, I will generally listen to while I'm like working.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm working on something with like, low brain power or like just kind of mindless work, and as I'm like, it's kind of more of I would say like an acute reaction because I was like listening to the Tucker clip and I was kind of like half listening because I was playing a game, but then like certain words popped up in me and I was like, shit, I gotta rewind this and make sure I actually understand what he's saying. And like, when he started talking about like the ethanol thing, for example, and there was other shit I can't remember now, I had this like, oh shit, kind of fucking reaction. Like, oh shit, this isn't good. But I'm not gonna scream out the window. I'm not gonna, like I said, after this call, I'm gonna like just do some work and fucking study or whatever, and I probably won't think about it till the next time it just pops up on, whether it's whoever could be talking about this stuff because it's just something that I think is going to be in the news, and I don't think it's going to be going away anytime soon. These shortages and hard times and like, recession coming up, and not financial advice at all whatsoever. Like, and not even, I don't even mean that in the legal cover your ass way, but I do want to look into investing in fractional fine art.
No idea what that is.
So it's interesting. So the way the stock market I think used to work was that you had to buy full stocks. So if Amazon was $1,000, you had to pay $1,000. You couldn't pay anything more or less unless you were buying a full other share. I think, I don't know. But what the sort of new apps, investing apps like Robinhood and stuff like that have done, or at least how the stock market works now, is that you can buy fractions of a share. So excuse me, can't really, wouldn't want to shell out, it's been very volatile lately, but like, oh, let's just say $700 for a Tesla share. You know what I mean? I could just buy $1, and that's generally how I've been investing instead of like putting big money up front. Like, it's like, oh, we have some dips here. Let's put $1 here, $1 there, $1, and just kind of build it up gradually over time. So apparently, And it's something I really would never have even thought could have existed. But there's this one channel I listen to pretty consistently for financial stuff called Stoic Finance, and
Okay.
he's always advertising this Masterworks thing. And I think even like I heard Ben Shapiro the other day advertising the same uh, app or website or whatever it is, where you buy fractions of fine art. To me, that's like, how does my brain kind of breaks trying to really understand it mechanically. But as far as
Right.
like in investment diversification and stuff, because apparently there's something similar for like farmland, which I also want to look into. Buying fractions of like acres or whatever. But I
Okay.
was just curious if you had heard anything about that, and maybe that's something I'll just throw on the agenda as a follow up for next week if I find time to do any like research on it.
Well, I keep my therapist that on, and my concern is the time. It's going to take time away from. Are you taking your eye off the ball, so to speak? In golfing language, keep your eye on the ball. Don't take your eye off the ball.
So I understand what you're saying. So what do you think is the reasonable expectation of keeping my eye on the ball? Like, am I supposed to ignore everything else about reality?
No, I mean, look at it in terms of again, like a 0 to 10 system. Does you want it to take up? Are you at the point where it's occupying your mind 95% of the time, or are you down at 0 where you can give a shit? Like some
Right.
stoner or something, or is it somewhere in the middle? And I think again, the barometer should be how is it affecting aspects of your life? Because I don't disagree with your premise whatsoever. There are going to be shortages. There's going to be some nasty stuff going on globally, and very nasty stuff. And I can't keep track of it all. The stuff I get every day from people and from publications and things like that, that are scientific and believable, scares the shit out of me. And I have a couple of real conspiracy therapists for patients. One just feeds me stuff all the time that I can't even keep
Can
up
we bring him on the show?
with. Yeah, bring her on the show. Yeah, you should. He's real good. He's real good. And a lot of what you're
Seriously,
talking
if
about,
she's down, I am. We can work something out, but we'll
oh, she would love to.
continue.
She talk about crowd stalkers and stuff like that. And she believes she has been. And the reality is that there are elements to what she's saying that is true about having. But she, has some incredible stuff. She could go to court and just blow people away with her facts and figures. Talk about that for the whole session because
Right, and I
work,
respect the privacy, of
but
course.
because I would be taking advantage of her. I would want to hear all of it, that she has to say. And she sends me way too much. Like you send me stuff, which is great, but she sends me like 10 things a day that she'll hear, read, or find out about,
Yeah.
or she thinks happened to her. But then some of the stuff she brings up, I look at the research that's on the military and things like the waves and some of the stuff that's happened with the waves. Look at what's happened to people. There's some truth to it.
What do you mean the waves?
The waves the radiation waves that have affected people. The Americans from Cuba. What was the Havana incident?
Oh yeah, the Havana syndrome stuff.
Like, yeah.
Interesting.